So today is the fourth day of our Bhagavad Gita class for adults, 7 p.m. And I extend a warm welcome to all of you for being here. And before we begin, paying my respectful, prayerful obeisances to the beautiful Radha Govinda, Shri Radha Govinda temple of ISKCON Mangalore. Let's continue the journey of understanding the Bhagavad Gita in 18 days from ISKCON Mangalore. Let's begin with a prayer. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarane. Nama Om Vishnu जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. You can all please chant with me one round. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Rama, Rama, Hare.
This is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which has popularized the ISKCON, and people have transformed simply by the power of this Lord's name. So once again, before I begin the class, I would like to pay my respectful obeisances to Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, his disciple, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, and his disciple, Temple President Grace Namanishta Das, and also my Guru Aishwarya Mataji, as well as Lakshmi Mataji, and several other Matajis and Prabhujis from ISKCON Mangalore, because I have done this level 1 and then level 2 courses from several teachers, spiritual teachers. So today we are doing a chapter 4, which is Jnana Yoga. It is called the Yoga of Knowledge. And let's quickly look at this significance of this, actually the Bhagavad Gita's history, how it's originated is where this chapter 4 begins. So chapter 4 actually begins with a brief history of the Gita as said by Krishna himself. And also we come to know about the beginning, about the purpose and significance of Krishna's appearance. That is why Krishna came and what is the reason for his coming. How do we know Krishna? What is the benefit of knowing and understanding Krishna? And finally, there are several misconceptions cleared once again. And we are able to once more unlearn and learn new things in this beautiful chapter. And also, we end this chapter with an understanding of importance of sacrifice and the necessity of approaching a spiritual guru. Right. So, moving on here, we have this quotation by Socrates. He says that all I know is that I know nothing. So to begin any knowledge, to really understand something, like I told you, we have to first unlearn. If we keep our head, if there is a sponge which is already full of water, that if you put it into water, it can absorb nothing. So to start to understand something, we have to first reach the state of knowing nothing. And that's when you begin knowing. And actually, as you come to know, you only realize how much there is left to know, which is always a huge ocean. Because we are like a little cockroach. If you can imagine, look at this. No matter how smart a cockroach is among its gang of cockroaches, it can never understand even the surface of quantum mechanics, let alone its depths. Doesn't even matter if the teacher is Erwin Schrödinger, like he's a great quantum mechanics teacher. So if you're like, we are in this huge universe, like one tiny dot, we can hardly ever, come to fathom the magnitude of this universe. Only from the scriptures or from the words of spiritual masters, we can understand a little bit. And so that is the reason why every time we come to know a little bit, we know how much more there is left. And so we in the Kali Yuga are like those cockroaches in the world of spiritual science. The world of spiritual science is vast. In the early yugas, at least they would dare to sit and learn all the Vedas, and they would know the teachers were real masters in the scriptures. But in today's Kali Yuga, with our very short lives and our limited brain, it is not possible for us to study all the scriptures. All the more reason, even then the Guru was great importance, all the more reason for us to approach somebody who is really, understood the essence of the scriptures. So, in this chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, these are the things we'll be looking into: the spiritual education system, why and where the Lord appears. Krishna himself will say that. And we will also study something really interesting: law of karma. So, karma is something which we all talk about. It's like one very cool word to talk about: karma, karma. You always hear about the word karma. But what really is karma? We're going to understand the three main categories of karma. The first and second people usually know, but the third, many people don't know till they read the Bhagavad Gita. So, history of Bhagavad Gita, why Krishna chose Arjuna, when, why, and how he appears. And then another big unlearning and learning to do is about the four divisions of human society, which has become a huge controversy of late also, about the Varnashrama Dharma. People don't understand at all. It's totally misunderstood. And we can see how the society is interpreting the Varnashrama Dharma is totally against what Krishna proposes it to be. So that's what we're going to see today. It's going to be a very exciting class. So let's start with the verse 4.1 where Krishna begins. So in this chapter, instead of like how in chapter 3, Arjuna begins asking the question. Here we have the Lord straight away starting. He says, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. So Krishna says, the blessed Lord, he says, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god. Another name of sun god is Vivaswan. And Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, who is the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So Krishna, he actually wants to tell Arjuna about the profundity of this knowledge. So he says that this is not just a mere knowledge that I'm telling you today. This is a knowledge which I had instructed to the sun god. And here we can see the history of Bhagavad Gita, like I told you, where Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhur sakale nehan mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through this chain of disciplinic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in due course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is, so the word as it is really important, appears to be lost. So this is what happens anytime there are something. Maybe as children you would have played the game Chinese whispers. I don't know why it was called Chinese whispers, but when you whisper something, the first person whispers something to the next, and then when he whispers, and then it gets passed on, and by the time the last person will be made to say what was, that is being message that is being passed, he would say something really ridiculous because he wouldn't even hear properly. So that's on a lighter note. But actually, what happens is like this knowledge is being transferred through the kings. Why kings? Because like we had seen in the earlier chapter, the kings are like the role models, and the kings in those days were not ordinary. They were they were considered to be representatives of God, because they were very qualified and knowledgeable in spiritual sciences, and they were living for the sake of society, and they had surrendered themselves to the Lord, and therefore what they did would be very pure in nature. There was nothing selfish about those days, the kings of those days. But gradually, as the science gets passed on, Krishna says that it gets contaminated, and that's the reason why he is coming once more to refresh the whole knowledge. So Krishna says in 4.3, that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme. So what is the science about? It is about the relationship of the Jiva and the Supreme. Is today told by me to you. Why? Why is it being told today of all the days? Because you are my devotee. And also, why is he saying it today? Because Arjuna has surrendered, like I told you earlier in chapter 2, he has surrendered himself completely. And Krishna says that I'm telling you this because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Therefore, you can understand this transcendental mystery of this science. So this is from the verse 4.3. So who can acquire? So here we can see when from Krishna's words, we can summarize that a person who is a devotee, who is a friend, who is able to inquire the relevant question, asking and with that submission, and who is ready to follow the instruction. Only such a person can acquire this knowledge. Because Krishna says, Bhakto sime sakha cheti. You are the one who is a devotee of mine, you are a friend of mine. That is the reason why I'm giving you this knowledge. And Arjuna, it's such a beautiful, a conversation going on. It's not as if Arjuna, he has surrendered, so he accepts everything. He questions. He asks, but how, Krishna? Actually, there's very little age difference between Krishna and Arjuna. So he asks, how come you are actually my contemporary? And how come you're saying that you taught this so many years ago to the sun god? And how is it possible? To which Krishna will reply, this is also a takeaway. Okay, here there is, this is a little bit of another understanding which says that among the cheater and cheated, who is the one really at a loss? Somebody is cheating someone and somebody is being cheated. Who is the one who is really at a loss? The cheated. While the cheater takes advantage all the while. The cheater is obviously at a loss because the cheater is taking advantage. The cheater will always try to flatter his followers. Why? Because he's asking them to continue their lifestyle and do whatever you feel like just because so that he keeps getting his money. So it is a duty of the cheated who must take precautions to avoid being cheated. And the only way to make sure we avoid cheaters is to get our information from a certified source. No better source than Krishna. Therefore, one must stick to parampara. So, why are we talking all of a sudden in the middle of these verses about the cheater and the cheated? That's because in the Kali Yuga, it is clearly mentioned in several scriptures that the world will be full of two types of people. Either those who are cheating or they are cheated. Because everybody is out to cheat others. They all have their agendas. In fact, even in close family relationships also, you will find that people want to, pass on their agenda. And so they will convince others to do what they actually want for themselves, for their own sense gratification, what they want. They will convince others to do stuff. So this is a world of cheaters and cheated. Now, coming to the main point, lot of people they don't accept knowledge from the real source, which is where the origin is Krishna. They they listen to the Gita from big gurus who actually they are propounding it in a totally wrong way just so that they can earn money. So they'll say like, okay, let me teach you some management tricks using the Gita. There are so many management tricks from the Gita, but I'm going to teach you how you can make lots of money from the message of the Gita. So they completely foil the whole purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, which is telling a human being the purpose of his life. And here they are, jeopardizing the basic message. Even the fact when Krishna is constantly telling everyone, I am God, they even, remove that basic knowledge, information completely from the Gita. And you'll be surprised, there are some people, they will teach the whole Bhagavad Gita without saying the word Krishna even once. Can you beat that? There are many people who will, be able to explain the whole Gita without using the word Krishna, whereas it's all about Krishna. It is Bhagavad Gita. It's a song of God by God himself. And they won't even mention it. And they just probably, call it secularism or I don't know what. So that is the reason why it is important for us to follow a parampara. And this parampara that we are right now in, which is we are listening to this from the words of Srila Prabhupada. And I would actually recommend all of you to buy this Bhagavad Gita, although it is available in vedabase.com. The soft copies of all Srila Prabhupada's books are available. If you can see the book. So this one, the Bhagavad Gita, okay, it's not coming clearly. It's called the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So that is where we are reading from, we are explaining from Srila Prabhupada's words. And this Bhagavad Gita is always good to have the hard copy because it is actually considered to be Krishna himself. The Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the literary incarnation of Krishna himself. So that's why we need to stick to parampara. If we want to get the real knowledge and understanding, we need to read from the proper source. In 4.5, Krishna says, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tabacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. So Krishna is saying here that, look, Arjuna has asked, how come you are saying that, you gave this knowledge to the sun god? And Krishna says that you have, been for so many births before this, and I have also had been here all the while. I know every birth of yours as well as everything that has happened before, and you don't really know them. You are not aware of it. And who gives this forgetfulness and remembrance? This is also given by Krishna. So for whatever Krishna knows a reason, he says that Arjuna, you don't know about all your previous births, but I know them all. So see, everywhere Krishna is explaining how he is the knower of everything. So if you look at the time, if you're looking at the time, the time span, every universe there is a Brahma who is a creator. There are many universes. In our Brahma, the life of our Brahma is so many trillion years. This is just some numerical facts from the scriptures. We'll quickly go through that. So there are about 311.04 trillion years is a life of Brahma. And it is made up of it starts from the time of creation of Brahma till the full devastation. And that is called the Kalpa. So in a day of Brahma is called, it begins with partial creation and partial devastation. So Krishna, Brahma's night, and it's his one, from one night to the other night, the span is that of one Manvantara. And in one Manvantara, there is, the all the four Divya Yugas, which is Satya Yuga, which is 1.7.28 million years, Treta Yuga, 1.2.96 million years, 864,000 years is Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga is 432, that is 4,32,000 years. We are somewhere in the middle now, I think so. This is just to understand the magnitude of the understanding that scriptures give us in terms of numbers. I'm very frankly, let me tell you, I'm really not so great at numbers, but it's quite mind boggling to see how, what is the extent of numbers being explained in the scriptures. So the life of one Brahma in one universe, when Brahma has passed 50, now Brahma has passed 50 years, which is these many number of years. And 6 Manvantaras are now over. 27 cycles of the 4 yugas. Can you imagine the 4 yugas? 27 cycles of them are now over. And that is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga equal to so many number of years. In this last set of Chatur Yuga is over. And in the Kali Yuga, so much of calculation. See, so much of calculation. In the Kali Yuga, our present Kali Yuga, 5,117 years are over. And the life of Brahma is so much, whatever, 155 point whatever trillion years. So that is really a mind-boggling information. So accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord himself to his disciple, it's like, Gita was spoken 120 million years ago to Vivaswan. Obviously, Arjuna is quite, he has a question to ask, how come, you are my contemporary? And that is when Krishna actually really clearly shows how he is the Lord and he is the person who is the origin of everything. So here we can see in how the Gita came to the earth. In the Mahabharata, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. In the beginning of Treta Yuga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu, Manu the father of mankind, given to his son Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet. So in those years, the whole earth was like one planet, one country. There weren't so many smaller countries. And forefather of the Raghu dynasty in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita, it's amazing actually to even think about how old the Bhagavad Gita is. It existed in the human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. So, it came to earth 2 million years ago. These are some calculations, explanations, which Namnisha Prabhu has done. So, one day of Brahma is so many years. 1 hour of Brahma is again so many years, and 1 minute of Brahma is like 6 million years, and 1 second of Brahma is like 100,000 years. So this knowledge which comes from Lord Krishna himself doesn't only come through Brahma, it also comes, we are in the Madhvacharya. Our line, the ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada and his guru, and this entire line is, we are falling under the Madhvacharya Lord Brahma line. But we also have, three other, there are so many important universities which teach, suppose, medical or engineering. We have, we know which are the most reliable ones. Similarly, to understand the Gita, there are these four main traditions. The one which comes from Brahma Madhvacharya, then Lakshmi, Ramanujacharya. So in each one, there is a major Acharya. Under Lord Shiva, that is Rudra line, there is Vishnu Swami. And among the four Kumaras line, there is Nimbarkacharya. So these are the different important traditions. And these, I'll just quickly read this. This is a line which we are now, following. This is just to let you know that we are from a valid traditional line. And so the knowledge that is being coming to us is from pure devotees. It begins with Krishna giving the information to Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva, Padmanabha, Narahari, Madhava, Akshobhaya. And these are all only the important ones. There are many in between. Then Jaya Tirtha, Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya. Now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is considered to be an incarnation of Krishna, where Krishna wanted to come in the form of a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya doesn't claim to be Krishna, but Krishna comes in the form of a devotee, and it's like a combination of Radha and Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya. So when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, eventually after you read the Bhagavatam and the Gita, you will find that there are scriptural references of Lord Chaitanya appearing on this earth. So then when you understand that, you will really start relishing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life also, which is coming on when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Again, very beautiful scripture. Then there is Rupa, Swarupa and Sanatana, Raghunatha, Krishnadasa, Narottama, Vishwanatha, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakura, Srila Gaur Kishore Dasa Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. So this is where, from where it's really important, because it was because of the advice given by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj that Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, he went to the Western world and started the ISKCON. So he always says that I am not, the one who started the ISKCON. This is a movement of Krishna consciousness. It's basically being in Krishna consciousness or in yoga with Krishna all the time. And this has started from ages. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually started the Sankirtan movement, and that is just being carried forward. Now, Krishna will explain, Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, in 4.6, he will start explaining, like I told you, it's a lot about the history in this chapter. How does Krishna appear? So he says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates. So here in this picture, you can see, and like I told you, if you had attended my previous classes, I had explained how Krishna doesn't come like a normal delivery. It's not like a normal delivery. Neither is Krishna conceived normally, through the semen passing and all that. Krishna passes from the mind of his father Vasudeva to Devaki, and she conceives him. And there is a brightness about her at that time. And he chooses, everything is Krishna's choice. And then he just appears, the baby just appears. And as soon as he appears, he shows his four-handed form to his parents. So he is the Lord of the universe, and he can choose to choose his parents. He can decide whatever. He is not bound by anything. So Krishna explains here that although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So he makes it very clear that he is coming on the earth in his original transcendental form, and he keeps explaining to us that I am God. Look, he's like reminding us. Actually, the soul within us knows that Krishna is our father and our mother and everything. It knows, but it is blinded because of I think in the previous chapter we did lust, because of desires. So we are contaminated right now. So Krishna is reminding. He says, look, I am actually transcendental. And then Krishna explains when he appears. When is it that he appears on the earth? He says, this is very famous. You must have heard it in the Mahabharata, that the serial. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So this verse it makes Bhagavad Gita very famous. Many children also, they may not know the Bhagavad Gita, but they know this verse. So its meaning is that whenever and wherever there is a decline in dharma or religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and the predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Now, what is dharma? I think I was talking about this dharma yesterday also. Dharma is the natural tendency that a person has. For example, I was telling you that the dharma of sugar is to taste sweet. The dharma of lemon is to taste sour. Similarly, the dharma of the human soul is to serve the Lord, which we have forgotten. And because we are not doing this dharma, that is the reason why we are incurring sin. And that is the reason why we are, getting bound into this material world more and more. And then Krishna explains why does he appear. He says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya taccha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He says, in order to deliver the pious people and to annihilate the miscreants and also to re-establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Actually, Krishna, he's the Lord of the universe. He has no reason to come here. This material world is, actually like a jail. The spiritual world is huge, and those in the spiritual world, the souls who wanted to enjoy independently from Krishna, for them, Krishna creates this whole dark material world. And then he creates light in this world so that people can at least, see each other. And then what happens is that these people, they are going on taking birth after birth just to enjoy the material pleasures, not knowing that they are all temporary. At the same time, Krishna keeps coming and he is constantly trying to remind us that enough of, roaming about in this material world where everything is temporary. Don't you want to come back home? And he is constantly calling us. When you have a human body, that's when you can start thinking. And then when you live many human births, you really you can feel it, that enough is enough. This material world is full of cheated. It's full of old age, disease, sickness, death. And you had like enough of it. And that is when we all come into this spiritual, path where we start seeking the answers. We want to know what is the truth. And we can feel that we are spirit and that this is not really our home. And Krishna is calling us back. So it is in order to deliver the pious people and to give pleasure to the devotees that Krishna comes on the earth. And also to annihilate the miscreants. For Krishna, annihilating the miscreants is hardly difficult. He can just create one big earthquake or anything, is nothing. He just has to not even think. It's so simple. But the real secret reason why he comes is because he wants to give pleasure to his devotees, wants to create those leelas so that devotees, they can enjoy in the presence of Krishna. And then, they can work their way towards going back to the spiritual world. So these are the reasons why Krishna comes to this material world. And he comes in his original transcendental form. What is the benefit of knowing Krishna? And this is really, really important. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So this is really important. Why? Because it tells us that if you come to know this basic transcendental knowledge, that Krishna is actually transcendental by nature. By transcendental, I mean spiritual. Krishna is not material. Krishna is the Lord. And this simple knowledge that I am the soul. What is transcendental knowledge? Knowing that I am the soul, that Krishna is God, that he is a person, knowing the relationship between the soul and God, like the soul is like a drop of a big ocean and the Lord is like the whole ocean. So we are like a part and parcel of the Lord, but we can never become the Lord. So Mayavadis, they think that the soul can become the Lord. Just because the drop of ocean realizes that I'm a drop of the ocean, it doesn't become the ocean. Doesn't become the ocean. But when one realizes that I am part and parcel of this ocean and starts serving the ocean, starts doing its dharma, then it becomes liberated. Even in this body, the soul can reach the liberated. It becomes pure and liberated. How? Because of simple transcendental knowledge. And what happens is when you get this knowledge, you really internalize and understand this knowledge by meditating on it, by reading the Gita, by listening to devotees, by keeping devotee associations, by doing devotional service, by simply chanting. You will understand this. Then the fruits of your selfless devotional action will lead you to this knowledge. You will get it thoroughly, and then you'll be liberated. You'll be purified and liberated. So what does Krishna says? One who knows this transcendental nature of my appearance, that I have appeared, the Lord has appeared, his activities. Once you know that, he does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth in this material world again, but he attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This is something which is, very important. And I believe that all of you who are here in this class are meant to, just understand that we all need to try to make this our last birth in the material world, which is a dark world full of pain. Krishna says in one of the verses, I don't remember exactly which one, that this whole material world is a dukkhalaya. And it doesn't take very long for a wise person to understand and see that yes, it is. Even if you get you may say, oh, I'm very happy, but actually all the happinesses in this material world are transient. They're all temporary. Everything will end. So when you understand that, then you really start seeking for that real, you want a spiritual bliss. What is the difference between Krishna's form? Like I told you, difference between drop of water and ocean. Krishna's form is spiritual, ours is temporary. Krishna's form is permanent. We are controlled by Maya. So what is this Maya? We will learn in detail about Maya in a further chapter. You can understand that Maya is basically like Durga, the Durga Devi. She's like the Durga. She's a person who protects the material world. And Krishna is the controller of this material world. The entire material world is controlled by Krishna. In fact, everything emanates from Krishna. Even Maya emanates from Krishna. So this Maya, she controls this whole material world, and she is testing us because we have come to this material world, and now only when we realize our purpose, then Maya will no more have any impact on us. And that is when Yoga Maya takes. So there's two kinds of Maya, Maha Maya and Yoga Maya. Maha Maya is the one which will try to keep us entrapped in this world. And as long as we have desires and we have a sense of proprietorship, we will be trapped. She will trap us. We'll be, in these different modes, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, and we'll be like, as if we are controlled by threads. And we don't realize that. We think that I am the one doing everything. Whereas actually the nature and our past karma and our past desire is largely in control of everything. We have limited independence for deciding, but largely we are controlled. And that realization comes gradually. Bahunam Janmanam Ante, right? After several births, we slowly come, the Gita starts revealing itself. Krishna decides to grace us with this knowledge. And then we are actually, once we get this knowledge, the responsibility to strive to get out of this material world. And once we start understanding Krishna, Maya will have no more control over us. No more. Then she will just leave us. And then Yoga Maya will take over, and she will assist us in our spiritual journey by helping us to do devotional service and, allowing us and giving us opportunities to have devotee association, to read scriptures more, so that we can, soon go back to Godhead, that is to Krishna. So basically, our soul is Sat, Chit, and Ananda form. And the subtle body is made up of mind. It is covered by two bodies. Usually people think that, okay, this is soul covered by the material body, which is made up of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. But there is also a subtle body. The subtle body is, it is subtler form. It's not material. It is made up of mind, false ego, and intelligence. So when the soul is still not realized, and suppose the death happens, The soul, it will leave the body. Along with the soul, the gross body will also go. And the gross body not the gross body, sorry, the subtle body also comes out. The gross body has become like decayed or due to accident or due to old age. And the soul will come out and the subtle body will not leave the soul. Why? Because we are still contaminated. We are still, having some desires. We still have karmas left. So then we need to take up another body based on our desires and our past karma and Krishna's will. So that is how the subtle body and the soul together will enter into another body. Now, when we start a spiritual journey, then even our subtle body we are able to leave behind, and then our soul, which is pure Satchidanand, which has spiritual senses, transcendental senses, which can see Krishna, it will go straight to the spiritual world, which is hugely vast. And there we can actually travel anywhere we want to. It's an unbelievable thing. These are mentioned in scriptures. There is no need for creating rockets and doing all this and going to the moon and really not seeing what the moon has. We go to the moon and what do we see? We see all those sand and this and that. We don't see the moon. There are moon beings actually. There are people who live in the Chandra. There is a lord of the moon, but all that we can't see because our soul is covered by this gross body and the subtle body, and we are not prepared to see those things. With our material senses, we can't. That is a reason why, Srila Prabhupada explains in so many of his books that to really travel across space, you need to purify yourself, your soul, and then you give up the gross body and subtle body whenever, and you're able to reach the spiritual, a world where you can travel anywhere, anytime. So that these things are, very detailedly given in various scriptures, but we're not aware of it right now. As we read more and more, we gain the interest to learn more and more. So to begin with Krishna, we have to start understanding Krishna. How do we approach Krishna? The next question Krishna will answer is how to approach him. He says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. So this is again quite important and I love this verse. Krishna will reward us to the degree of our surrender. He says, all of them, as they surrender unto me, accordingly I reward them. And ultimately, everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Everything is possible only because of Krishna's grace. And how much we are able to surrender to Krishna, accordingly, he will reward us. So here we can see the picture of this Krishna's feet. We can see, actually when Krishna comes on the earth, this cow and these cow herds, they are all highly elevated devotees. Imagine they are in the Lord himself and they were enjoying peace and bliss. And they are not beings of this world. Krishna, when he comes at that time, all these gopas, gopis, these calves, cows, the grass, the trees, they are all the devotees which are born there because they just enjoy the presence of Krishna. So they are totally surrendered souls. They are the ones who are true devotees, who got the grand opportunity to be in the presence of the Lord himself on the earth when he's doing all these leelas. So you can see here Krishna and you can see Balram. So sometimes, Balram is the one who is, pressing Krishna's feet. Sometimes it's the other way around. And they actually enjoying blissful moments together. So in this picture, you can see Balram is the one who is lying down and Krishna is pressing his feet. So such beautiful pastimes. And only devotees can really, start gauging also that immense joy that one feels, when you become a devotee. Only a devotee can even begin to understand that. Others are missing out on this blissful feeling. Has anybody in history able to know Krishna? The Krishna does say it's very difficult to know him. So he says here, Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa uta madbhava magataha. Who can understand Krishna? One who is free from attachment, fear, anger, fully absorbed in me and take refuge in me. Many persons in the past have become purified by knowledge of me and then they attain transcendental love for me. Very tough, right? I can't imagine, being free from attachment, fear, and anger. It's very tough. Always thinking of Krishna, very tough. The moment I finish this class, I'll be busy with the different things. I have to prepare for my tomorrow's class. There's so many things coming up. And then keeping Krishna in mind. Not easy. And then giving up all your sense of proprietorship, completely dedicating yourself to Krishna. It's tough. But then there are examples. Krishna says, no, there are people. So you know that there are people whom you can follow. And he calls them Mahajanas. So here in this picture, you can see some of the great devotees. So there are these 9 Mahajanas and not 9, 12. 12 Mahajanas are there. And Krishna says that these are the lives of Mahajanas which are explained in great detail in the Bhagavatam. So once you finish reading the Gita, I would request all of you, to start tasting the joy of understanding the Bhagavatam, where you come to know about the great devotees. There is Brahma, Shiva is a great Mahajan, Narada is a Mahajan, the Kumaras are there. Then here Prahalad Maharaj is there, Bhishma, Janaka, then Sukadev Goswami, Kapila, Vamana, and Mahabali is there. And who else? All these 12 Mahajanas are there. Okay. So if we study about these Mahajanas, we will know how we can follow their footsteps and also become great devotees. Then Krishna says in 4.12 that men in this world, they desire success. However, what happens is that when you come into this world, you start desiring success in fruitive activities. Fruitive activities means you want to enjoy material pleasure. And therefore, such people, they start worshipping the demigods. Why? Because quickly the demigods will give them results. When they pray to some demigod, they will quickly get the result. And they will get from fruitive work in this world, they will get the results. And this is where this is very important verse, which is a great controversy. People don't understand this. It says, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. So Krishna is saying that according to the 3 modes of material nature, now mind you, every word is important, and the work ascribed to them, 4 divisions of human society were created by me. So Krishna is the one who is creating these 4 divisions. Why? How? On the basis of the modes of material nature, the modes which are dominant within every Jivatma, the modes which we will mostly be in. According to that, we get our next birth, if at all a human body. And Krishna says, however, again he clarifies, although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna, he has created the system and it is working on its own based on our karmas and gunas that we inculcate. So the next body we get, whether it's going to be of which nature. So in this picture, you can see the Brahmana. The Brahmana is the one who is a teacher. He teaches spiritual science to the society. But as you can see in this class itself, we began on the first day with almost 30, and it's just the 4th day and there are only 15. Even though the Brahmana would love to give spiritual knowledge to people, people don't want to hear. The moment they hear, every verse is saying, Krishna is saying, I am God, people are not interested. So what is, that is the reason why there are few Brahmanas. And that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada set out to give this knowledge so that more Brahmanas are created, more people are benefited from the spiritual knowledge. Then we have Kshatriyas. Their duty is to protect people from different attacks. Then we have the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas are the ones who do business or farming, and the Shudras are the ones who are serving all the other categories. And all 4 are important. So this is all, these are the problems which people, misconstrue. First of all, you get the birth into the family based on your own karma and your own, desires, your own tendencies. And then once you're there, the best part is Krishna gives equal importance to all. And he never says that it is based on birth. He clearly says it is based on the modes of material nature and the kind of, karma that person has done. So after he gets that, the best part is that every one of these categories are eligible to get Krishna consciousness. Krishna says all of them can come to me. All of them. It's not that only the Brahmanas can go to Krishna. Very often it is those who are in the Shudra category who are just doing devotedly, they're doing their work, they're always in Krishna consciousness. And when their life is over, in fact, even in their bodies, they can experience spiritual bliss. And when they give up this body, they will straight away go to the spiritual world. So there is no partiality. Krishna says, I'm not partial to anyone. Caste system is not based on birth. That is the biggest mistake that people make. And that is done by because of the different selfish reasons of the people. And why is this happening? Because Krishna gives limited independence to the people. Everyone, Krishna never forces anyone. He gives them all the limited independence, which because of which he even creates a whole material world to facilitate the limited independent, the desires of the different jivatmas. So the caste system is based on only two things. One is the modes of nature and the karma. And of course, Krishna's sanction has to be there. And all these castes, whatever castes, the four castes which are there, they're all important because Krishna explains how they're all parts of his body and they're all serving Krishna. So if one understands that, then this whole issue related to caste system will not be there at all. The so-called caste system that is followed today in so much of the world is refuted in this single verse. People say that, Hindus means caste system. But this one verse is refuting the whole understanding. Just because you're the son of a cardiologist doesn't mean that you are also a cardiologist as soon as you're born. It's more likely that you will take up the profession because of the upbringing and the grooming. Maybe you get, it'll become easier for you to be a cardiologist, but you're born in that family because of your own karma. And yet, it's not compulsory that you will become a cardiologist. It doesn't automatically make you a certified heart surgeon. No matter how hard he tries to convince you, you won't let such a person, just because a cardiologist's son is there, you won't let him to operate on you. Okay, his father is a surgeon, so he is also a surgeon. No, that it's not possible. The choice of profession must be done after long and hard introspection of one's own guna and karma. So if you feel I have the qualities to become, in the defense, because I have, in one of the later chapters, Krishna will explain each category's qualities very well. I think in chapter 17. To be truly happy and successful, you must be physically, psychologically, and intellectually compatible with the demands of the field. And that is Varnashrama. So totally misconstrued only because of people's selfish desires and the attachment. Like I told you, the Dhritarashtra was suffering from attachment rather than affection. So because people have such a lot of attachment to their children, they feel that, okay, I'm in the higher caste and no one else should be close to that. And they do all sorts of atrocities. And every karma that they do will just have its own mathematically calculated results which they have to face. Because Krishna says that I'm not involved. I have created this, but then it works just, very automatically. It works based on the karma and guna with mathematical precision. It doesn't go wrong anywhere. It's perfect. Krishna's calculations, the world moves on, on the basis of Krishna's energies. Then Krishna says in this verse, 4.14, Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spriha, iti mam yo bhijanati, karma bhirna sabadhyate. Oh, it's only 10 minutes. There's no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So if you don't want to be bound by your own work, the reactions of your work, if you just know that Krishna is not the one who is, doing or is forcefully making you become a Brahman or Kshatriya, whatever, and none of the work that different people do affects Krishna, and he does not aspire for any fruits of action. So this kind of understanding, once you have, then you are free from being born again. So here you can see Krishna himself has performed all the different kinds of services. He has been like, in fact, being a chariot driver is like the job of a Shudra. Being taking care of the cows is like a Vaishya. He's a king also. And he's done the Kshatriya work also, where he actually took up the weapons several times. So you can see that he himself has, based on different times, taken up the different things. And he's not bound by that. And all the liberated souls in the ancient times, they acted with the understanding of this transcendental knowledge of Krishna. And therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna, you should perform your duty. You're a Kshatriya. You follow your duty, following in their footsteps. Why? Because, whatever are the tendencies we have, based on that, we get our next births. Here you can see in this picture above, you can see that someone who is, all the time willing to just expose himself gets the birth of a tree, or someone who is, all the time too keen on eating other animals gets the birth of a tiger, or someone who is very lazy, all the time sleeping, gets the birth of a bear, or someone who is all the time probably, interested in only sex gets a birth of, like a dog or something. So karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. This is a very important verse which talks about the three kind of karmas. And here we have a picture of the famous king Ranti Deva, who actually, he is a very pure devotee, and he is someone who can see God in everyone. He sees Krishna inside the Paramatma, inside every person around him. So there was, a time when he was fasting for 48 days, and after which, when the meal was brought to him, someone comes and asks him for the meal, and he gives half of it, some hungry person. Then another chandala comes, he gives the rest. And then someone comes, all the food is which is there, it's all over, and now there's only water for him. And when he's just about to drink that water, 48 days he has fasted, and when he's just about to at last drink the water, again someone comes and knocks, and he readily gives off the water also, because he just believes that there is God everywhere. And then Brahma appears and tells him that this was, how it was kind of a test for a devotee, and how the gods themselves come and they pay their respects to Ranti Deva, who was a pure devotee. So these stories you can read in Bhagavatam. And the intricacies of what this verse says, intricacies of actions are very hard to understand. So Ranti Deva's example we will understand as we're going to see that now. One should know what action is. That is one type of karma. What is forbidden action, which is called vikarma, and what is inaction, that is called akarma. This is what we are going to understand now. The short-term effects of our daily actions are very clear, right? We know that karma works. For example, if I don't study for tomorrow's exam, I'll fail. If I don't brush my teeth, I'll develop cavities. If I don't eat healthy food, I will have health issues. This is because of our action, and you can see the material world that the results are fairly instantaneous. But our association, you should understand the importance of association. Association, the kind of people we associate with, they influence our thoughts. Our thoughts direct our actions determine our future. So your tomorrow is written by the people with whom you spend time today. So how can you understand how your future is going to be? Just look around what kind of people you're associating with. And that is why, if you're really interested in a spiritual journey, make sure that you have time for devotee association. And the long-term effects of our daily actions, we are not clear. We can see that, okay, I didn't study for tomorrow's exam, I go and mess it up. But the long-term effect of our little thoughts and actions, we don't know. But it is definitely, like I told you so many times, with mathematical precision, it happens. This is because the time difference between our actions and results are huge. Maybe one birth, or sometimes some of them take many births to happen. So there is this slide over here about our understanding. When we understand the Brahman form of the Lord, we are enjoying, we understand that Sat, we understand that there is something called eternality. When we understand the Paramatma in our heart, we start getting knowledge and we understand eternality. And when we understand Bhagavan as Krishna, that is when we reach the highest form, where we realize our own soul. The Sat is basically just being here in the moment. Chit is when you're aware of everything around you. You're able to see Krishna in everybody's heart. And Ananda is when you are one with everything, because you have understood Krishna as a person. And when we attain all these three things, we become totally immersed in joy. So the karma, akarma, and vikarma, which path we take, and Krishna is saying that however you surrender to me, that much you will come. So here it's being compared to a journey. Suppose you want to go to a spiritual world, you can't take a ticket to, heaven or hell or the different planets. You want to go to Krishna, you have to take a ticket to Krishna. You have to work accordingly. So you have to decide what you want to do. Are you going to be a vikarmi, a karmi, or an akarmi? So people who are vikarmis, they are the ones who are doing, not bothered about the consequences, and they are the ones who are doing sinful activities. Who is a karmi? Karmi is someone who is doing good deeds. Now the funny thing is, which is again a new knowledge it was new for me initially, is that when you do good things also, you get bound to this earth. Why? Because you have to be born again just to enjoy the consequences of the good deeds that you have done. So, if you want to be liberated and you want your soul to become pure and start enjoying spiritual bliss and go back to spiritual world, you have to become an akarmi. So, but if you want to be an akarmi, don't take a ticket of becoming a vikarmi or karmi, right? You need to be an akarmi. So, what do vikarmis do? They don't follow Vedas. They have the risk of being degraded to lower species. They're not appreciated by saintly people. They defeat the whole purpose of life. They are the sinful people. Karmis, they follow the Vedas. They attain Swarga. Some of them, if they become demigods also. Some of the demigods, these demigods are also positions. They are not permanent. They're not It's not like Indra is forever Indra. He is a king of the gods, but it's a temporary position. Everywhere in the whole material world, there is old age and death. And eventually they have to come back to the Martya Loka. So karmis are those who go to the higher planets. They can even become demigods. But then when they finish all their pious activities, the results, how much they have to enjoy, it's over, they come back. The akarmi is the one who comes to the platform of devotional service to Krishna. Here the picture of Narada. He has reached the akarmi stage. And they know that fruitive activity is binding. And so they don't engage in both the karma or vikarma. They will engage only in akarma. So karma is when they're doing pious action. They will enjoy but they will have rebirth. Akarma is when vikarma is sinful action. You will also have rebirth and you'll have to suffer. But when you do akarma, now all of us are doing akarma. Why? Because we are doing devotional service by trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, which is it's Lord Himself. And therefore, it is an inaction. It's not an action which is going to give us a positive result or a negative result. It's only going to give us bliss, and it is only going to lead us to the spiritual world and not to rebirth. That is the difference between karma, vikarma, and akarma. So we have to perform our duties very cautiously so that we are doing akarma, because this whole karma thing is very, very, complex and sure, 100% it happens. So you have to be cautious that you're not doing both karma and vikarma, and that you're doing akarma so that you're able to go to the Lord. So what is akarma? Krishna will explain. Actually, today I'm running a little late. It's already 8. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, a person who is doing akarma, he's very satisfied, independent. He does not perform any fruitive actions. Although he's engaged, he's doing different services. He may be doing any work on the earth, but he is dedicated to the Lord. So he is doing akarma. Person who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, such a person, he is sure to go. Krishna says in several verses, here he says, sure to go to the spiritual kingdom. And some unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice a hearing process. And then Krishna will talk about sacrifice. Anytime you get time, just read these verses. They are very beautiful to meditate upon. So one who is, doing the hearing process and the senses so somebody who is doing unadulterated brahmachari service, he is sacrificing his hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others who are householders, they are sacrificing the objects of their senses, that is, for sense gratification, in the fire of the senses. These are require a lot of thinking. Now, having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions. Some people, they're sacrificing their things. And others, they do austerities. And some practice yoga. And some study the Vedas. These are all different forms of sacrifices. And all are basically to advance in transcendental knowledge. So, Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita 4.33, the chastisement of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possessions. Simply giving charity. is not as good as someone who is in knowledge, who knows that I need to give it for Krishna. After all, a son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Oh, best of Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily. Like I told you in chapter 3, there's a lot of description about sacrifice. And then it's in 4.34, Krishna says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire submissively. And then Krishna explains in chapter 4 how it is important to take a guru. He himself, Krishna, the knower of everything, he doesn't need to go to a guru. But even he, you can see here, even he and Balrama are going to a guru. The self-realized soul is the one who can impart spiritual knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. Even if you are considered to be more sinful of sinners, when you become into the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. And here Krishna says in 4.37, just as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, so does fire of knowledge burn all your reactions. So don't be afraid, oh, I've done so much of sin. All the sins will be burned, Krishna says, if you simply surrender. So here you can see this famous story. I don't have time to say this in much detail, but Narada, he meets this very ferocious, sinner called Mrigari, and he used to injure different animals and allow them to die in pain. And Narada's association is so useful for him. He actually turns into a great devotee. After several years, when he comes back, the same person has turned into a great. Therefore, the doubts, Krishna says, which have come in your heart out of ignorance, slash them with the weapon of knowledge and get up and fight. So, Guru is the spiritual master. He takes the responsibility of his disciple, and although both deserve respect, reverence is reserved for the Guru. Whereas a material teacher is just there out to make money to train a student and is often not bothered about whether the student has understood or not. So this is the ideal example of a guru. We have Srila Prabhupada in our, line. We follow him, and he's an ideal guru. And with that, we come to the end of chapter 4. Again, I would like to say that there are so many beautiful verses. We can't cover everything in an hour. So please continue your study of the Gita and make this just a beginning of an endless journey of understanding Gita. Let's say the concluding prayer. Vancha kalpataru bhyascha kripa sindhuvya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. I hope I have done justice to today's chapter. Hare Krishna, everybody. If you have any doubt, please share. If you have any reflections, please share.
Hello, Mataji.
Yes, Preeti Mataji.
Ma'am, what is your opinion about atheists?
About atheists?
Yes, like even if they are good, they're performing their duties. Like, what is your opinion? They don't pray to God, no?
Yeah. So, what is my opinion about atheists? Basically, they have Bahunam Janmanam Ante. They have many births yet to come, and we don't need to worry because Krishna loves everyone, whether they're atheists or demons or any form of life or greatest of sinners. Krishna's love is there for them. Krishna loves them. Now, when they are atheists, the person who is suffering the most is they themselves. So Krishna actually talks about atheists as demons only. He refers to them as demons, and they are ones who are obstinate. And Krishna says that those who are atheists, in further chapters you will see verses in further chapters that Krishna clearly explains how somebody who is an atheist, who doesn't accept Krishna as a Lord, such people, he will just put them back into the material world again and again. He will put them into lower forms. So that is the consequence that they will have to undergo. Ultimately, it is, because they have to be purified and they have to come to the position of understanding Krishna and going back to spiritual world. So that is the understanding about atheist, Mataji, as per what I know now.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah. Anybody else has something?
जय श्री कृष्ण माता जी।
Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhuji.
माता जी, मेरा अभी जस्ट व्हेन आई एम सिटिंग फॉर
Sorry, I can't hear you, Prabhuji. Can others hear him? I can't hear. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think you lost
Yeah.
connection.
I want to say that when I'm sitting meditation to chanting Krishna name, while I am chanting Krishna name, at that time, unwanted things are coming up from my heart.
Yes.
So that is the reason I am not able to chanting
No, Prabhuji, don't
continuously
stop.
without disturbance.
Mataji, I think Prabhuji or Mataji, please don't stop because chanting, they say is like Krishna dancing on the Kaliya. So when Krishna was dancing on Kaliya, so much of poison coming out. So all our past karmas and desires, all that will come out, and our thoughts will be, very, it will disturb us. But the only way out of it is through it. You have to continue your chanting. You will not feel like chanting. You'll feel like stopping. So Krishna will explain in future verses how anything that you're doing, in which is in Sattva Gun, it will be very painful in the beginning. But gradually you will start enjoying the bliss. The blissful chanting will happen. But you have to keep on chanting. Don't worry about, all the kinds of thoughts which are coming. Don't get bothered by your thoughts because it will come. In fact, how the poison will start coming initially from the snake's mouths when Krishna is dancing. Krishna actually, when you start chanting, takes personal responsibility to clean you. So you are right now, we are all so contaminated. Krishna will start cleaning the moment you start chanting. So in Chaitanya, Shishtashtakam, it is said, Cheto Darpanamarjanam. What is that? It says the chanting is like cleaning the mirror. The mirror is so dirty, and as you're chanting, it's getting clean. So there'll be all the dust particles and all coming out, and it will be, very disturbing. But just don't stop. That is a normal. It means you're doing a good job. If you're chanting and the disturbing thoughts are coming and you're not able to focus, it means you're doing a thorough job because the cleaning process has begun. You are slowly getting purified. So please just continue. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mataji.
So thank you, ma'am. Just I have one more question about this regarding the. Question is that just so
I can't hear again. I think your voice is getting drifted away. I can't hear you.
it is something network issue, Mataji.
Ah,
I think I will ask later.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Shall I end today's class? Please join tomorrow for chapter 5. It is Karma Sannyasa Yoga and it's also a very nice chapter. Shall I end the class? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.